Moderna said Monday it's accelerating work on a COVID-19 booster shot to guard against the recently discovered variant in South Africa. The company's researchers said its current coronavirus vaccine appears to work against the two highly transmissible strains found in the UK and South Africa, although it looks like it may be less effective against the latter. The two-dose vaccine produced an antibody response against multiple variants, including B.1.1.7 and B.1.351, which were first identified in the UK and South Africa, respectively, according to a Moderna study conducted in collaboration with the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. The study has not yet been peer-reviewed. The vaccine generated a weaker immune response against the South African strain, but the antibodies remained above levels that are expected to be protective against the virus, the company said, adding the findings may suggest a potential risk of earlier waning of immunity to the new B.1.351 strains. Out of an abundance of caution and leveraging the flexibility of our Moderna platform, we are advancing an emerging variant booster candidate against the variant first identified in the Republic of South Africa into the clinic to determine if it will be more effective to boost titers against this and potentially future variants, Moderna CEO Stephen Bancel said in a statement. Shares of Moderna were up more than 10% in morning trading after the announcement. Paul Lafitte, director of the Vaccine Education Center at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, said he's glad Moderna is preparing for the possibility that the virus could mutate enough to evade the protection of the current vaccines. He added the ultimate goal of the vaccine is to prevent severe infections and keep people out of the hospital. This is not a problem yet, said Lafitte, also a member of the FDA's Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee. Prepare for it. Sequence these viruses. Get ready just in case a variant emerges, which is resistant to the vaccine. On Thursday, White House Health Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci said new data showed that the COVID-19 vaccines currently on the market may not be as effective in guarding against new, more contagious strains of the coronavirus. Some early findings that were published in the preprint server bioRxiv indicate that the South Africa variant can evade the antibodies provided by some coronavirus treatments. The news also comes after the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said earlier this month that the UK variant could become the dominant strain in the US by March. It is highly likely there are many variants evolving simultaneously across the globe, Jason McDonald, a spokesman for the CDC, said in an email to CNBC at the time. The Food and Drug Administration authorized Moderna's vaccine for people who are 18 years old and older in December. Moderna's vaccine, like Pfizer's, uses messenger RNA, or mRNA, technology. It's a new approach to vaccines that uses genetic material to provoke an immune response. Late-stage clinical trial data published in November shows Moderna's vaccine is more than 94% effective in preventing COVID, is safe and appears to fend off severe disease. To achieve maximum effectiveness, the vaccine requires 2 doses taken 4 weeks apart. Bancel told CNBC that Moderna's vaccine will be protective against the South African strain in the short term, but their company doesn't know how long that protection may last. What is unknowable right now is what will happen in 6 months, 12 months, especially to the elderly because, as you know, they have a weaker immune system, he said during an interview with Squawk Box. Because of that unknown, we decided to take into the clinic, out of an abundance of caution, a new vaccine. We cannot be behind. We cannot fall behind this virus, he said, adding the coronavirus will keep mutating. This article was originally written by Berkeley Lovelace Jr. for CNBC on January 25, 2021. CNBC's Noah Higgins-Dunn contributed to this report. Dr. Fauci says COVID vaccines can be easily adapted to new variants, drug makers working on boosters. Pfizer and Moderna's current COVID-19 vaccines can be easily adapted to target new strains of the virus, something the drug makers are already working on, White House Health Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci said Wednesday. New strains of the coronavirus have emerged in the United Kingdom, South Africa and Brazil that have given scientists some cause for concern. Although it's no surprise the virus is mutating, researchers are quickly trying to determine what the changes might mean for recently developed life-saving vaccines and treatments against the disease. Some early findings published in the preprint server bioRxiv, which have yet to be peer-reviewed, indicate that the variant identified in South Africa, what scientists are calling the B.1.351 strain, can evade the antibodies provided by some coronavirus treatments and may reduce the effectiveness of the current line of available vaccines. Fauci told CNN in an interview that it was very similar to a new strain found in Brazil. However, there is some good news. The newly developed mRNA technology used to make the vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna makes it easy to adapt to the new strains, Fauci said. He added that the drug makers are already working to make so-called booster shots that will target the variant found in South Africa, which appears to be more problematic than the others. We're already trying to stay 1 or 2 steps ahead of the game so that if, in fact, We have a situation where the South African strain is prevalent here, but it's certainly not dominant. You want to really get ahead of it from a protection standpoint, Fauci said. You're going to want to have a vaccine that specifically addresses that strain. Earlier on Wednesday, Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, said federal agencies would collaborate to study how effective COVID-19 vaccines are against mutated strains of the virus. While the authorized remain highly effective against the B.1.1.7 strain first identified in the UK, things get a bit more problematic with the B.1.351 strain. Even then, both vaccines have proven to be about 95% effective in preventing COVID-19 in clinical trials, allowing a little bit of cushion where the vaccines will still work even if any of the variants reduces their effectiveness, the infectious disease expert has said. Testing the effectiveness of the booster vaccines doesn't require starting from scratch, Fauci said. The booster shots won't need to go through the same large-scale clinical trials that were required for the original vaccines to receive the U.S. Food and Drug Administration's emergency use authorization in December, he said, adding that they could get through with a quick phase 1 trial instead. You don't have to do a 30,000-person trial or a 40,000-person trial, Fauci said. You work with the FDA and you could bridge information from one trial to another. Bottom line is we're already on it. Moderna announced Monday that its COVID-19 vaccine might be less effective against the B.1.351 strain in South Africa, and that the company is accelerating work on a booster shot to guard against the variant out of an abundance of caution. Pfizer said on Tuesday that the company, along with German drug maker BioNTech, would also develop a booster shot, according to a Reuters report citing an email from the company. A spokesperson for Pfizer told CNBC that the company published a study on Wednesday, which has yet to be peer-reviewed, that found their vaccine was still effective against lab-engineered mutations seen in the new strains found in the UK and South Africa. The mutations seen in the variant found in South Africa did have a small impact, but they are still unlikely to lead to a significant reduction in the effectiveness of the vaccine. While these findings do not indicate the need for a new vaccine to address the emerging variants, the companies are prepared to respond if a variant of SARS-CoV-2 demonstrates evidence of escaping immunity by the COVID-19 vaccine, the statement said. It was not clear when the study was posted and whether Pfizer-BioNTech will be making a booster. This article was originally written by Noah Higgins-Dunn for CNBC on January 27, 2021. CNBC's Will Fewer and Berkeley Lovelace Jr. contributed to this report.